Show me your papers digitally. Could this be coming to a town near you? Could a digital ID card be brought in mandatorily for all UK citizens? My name's Tom Harwood and this is GBN Originals. Well, today more than 40 Labour MPs are calling for the introduction of a digital ID card, something that you would need to present to an employer before you could start working, something that people could demand to see in order for you to go about your business as a citizen or indeed a non-citizen in the United Kingdom. Of course, this is an idea that has been around for a long time, and it is something that has been done in a non-digital form on the continent. One argument from many people has been that one of the reasons why so many illegal migrants choose to make the perilous journey across to the United Kingdom after skipping through safe country after safe country and then camping out in northern Calais is because they want to get to the UK, so it's easier to work in a country that doesn't mandatorily ask for an ID card, a government-issued mandatory ID. This perhaps is why all of these Labour MPs from many different Labour groups, caucuses within the Labour Party, have been calling for this idea. It's Labour MPs from the Red Wall group of Labour MPs, those that won their seats off those seats that flipped under Boris Johnson's election victory in 2019. It's also the Labour Growth Group, a group of Labour MPs who are committed to pro-growth reforms like planning reform and making it easier to build things in this country. But interestingly, some from the Blue Labour group as well, that group of more socially conservative Labour MPs, have also signed up to this initiative. All argue that it would streamline government services and make it harder for illegal migrants to work in the black economy. But of course, this is an idea that has reared its head before. It was an issue in 2008 and 2009. It was raised under the previous Labour government. It never came into force, although the plans became fairly well developed. It was an issue during the 2010 general election. David Cameron, the then prime ministerial candidate for the Conservative Party, traipsed around the country saying this would be a terrible idea, that we should not become a papers, please society. Even on one occasion during a campaign stop, he feigned a German accent using the words, "Show me your papers," in perhaps what was a less than diplomatic move. But that's what happens sometimes in general election campaigns. No, the idea was killed by the Conservative and Lib Dem coalition government as they tried to move on an issue for civil liberties. But the issue has now been brought back to the fore. Not only are these 40 plus Labour MPs campaigning for it, having signed a letter, but also the former Prime Minister Tony Blair has reared his head again, talking about this issue that he once wanted to bring in when he was Prime Minister. He now runs the influential Tony Blair Institute that has put out paper after paper on issues like this, advocating a digital ID to streamline government services, to make sure that individuals' data is all in one place, to help people access services like the NHS, but also, crucially, to crack down on illegal employment. Those on the other side of the fence, however, say that this is a terrible idea. We know how many data leaks there have been from the government. We know how clumsy the government can be with centrally collected data. If there was one point of call for all of the information the state held on you, all in one place, well, all it would take would be a dedicated hacker from Russia or China, or perhaps a non-state actor group. Could they blackmail you? Could they blackmail the government? Could they steal your data if it's all held in one central repository? Well, that is a clear question, and one that concerns civil liberties and civil rights groups. There is a reason, of course, the UK has never introduced this ID card system, this more centralised control over who we are as individuals. And that, I suppose, is this libertarian streak that has run through at least a core tenet of political philosophy in this country. This is, of course, where the liberal writers of the 1700s grew up with that revolution revolution in philosophical thought. This country is the country of the freeborn Englishman, the idea stretching back to Magna Carta that too much power should not be held in the hands of one individual. We're a country that rejected the Napoleonic codes and the centralisation that many European countries suffered under for so long. Instead, we've got a tradition of British liberty, of parliamentary democracy, and of not having a standing army in the United Kingdom. Perhaps that's the advantage of being a country that has been forged through the centuries, being protected by, in effect, a massive moat. Yes, a strong navy, but no standing army necessary to keep the liberties of the people of the UK safe. Perhaps that has fed into an idea of liberty in this country that we then exported around the world, an idea of liberty that became codified in the Constitution of the United States, an idea of liberty that is written through the writings of everyone from Edmund Burke to John Hume to so many liberal thinkers throughout the years. Perhaps this is actually what is at the core of us as a people. On the other hand, of course, during COVID, we saw massive popular support for restrictions on the liberties of the British people. We saw massive popular support for the government taking a stronger role in society. And proponents of the idea of ID cards say that actually the government holds a lot of information about us anyway, just in lots of disparate places. Most people have a driver's license, or at the very least a provisional driver's license, that is used as a form of government ID when purchasing cigarettes or alcohol, or even energy drinks after the laws that were brought in over the last 5 or so years. So clearly the government does already sort of have a parallel scheme to an ID card, and it's called a driver's license. We have licensing in so many different ways. We have a state-run healthcare system that does hold our personal information and that has been hacked already. That's what the proponents of this scheme say, that it would be nothing new, it would just be more centralised, more convenient even for people in this country. But what do you think? Well, we sat down with one of the Labour MPs who is proponing this idea, that's not a word, who is proposing this idea, one of the big proponents of it. Shall we have a listen to what he had to say? Well, we're joined now by one of the supporters for these digital IDs and the Labour MP for Hartlepool, Jonathan Brash. Jonathan, thanks for joining us this afternoon. What made you get behind this campaign?
Well, I think there are a number of things. I mean, the first thing is that it's about entering the 21st century. So much of our lives now are digital, and yet a lot of our public services are still operating on paper. There's an opportunity here to actually streamline public services, save huge amounts of taxpayers' money, and deliver a better service to the public, as well as cracking down on illegality, illegal working, illegal migration as well. I genuinely struggle to see what the argument against this is, given that the advantages are so clear.
Well, I think the arguments against are about privacy concerns, about the government's propensity to mess things up sometimes and release information that perhaps they shouldn't. I mean, we've seen that in the NHS, haven't we? We've seen that in other government departments. But is this mostly about immigration? I'm sure a lot of your constituents in Hartlepool are concerned about people coming here, working illegally or being put up in asylum hotels at great cost to the country and the like. So is it mostly about that?
Well, I think it's about a number of things. It is clearly about illegal immigration. There's no question about that. One of the reasons that I think the UK has been a soft touch in the past on this issue is because it's an attractive option, because we don't have something like digital ID. So it's easier to come here and disappear into the workforce illegally. But I would say this about the privacy argument. I carry a card in my wallet every day that has my details on it held by the government. It's called a driver's license. We hand over biometric data to companies like Apple on our phones every day. We're already doing this. I don't think there are really privacy concerns. I think this is about entering the 21st century, saving taxpayers' money, delivering better services, and cracking down on illegality. It seems to be win-win-win as far as the residents of Hartlepool and the rest of the country are concerned.
Now, of course, there was a debate over the introduction of mandatory ID cards back at the end of the last Labour government. That debate really died a death with the 2010 general election. Famously, David Cameron walked round the country in that general election saying we don't want to be a papers, please society. At one point, he even did a slightly inadvisable German accent saying, hand me your papers. I mean, is this the kind of country we want to be, where free-born Englishmen have to hand over papers in order to get by in life? Couldn't we have digital IDs only for people not born in this country?
Well, I don't really see what the advantage of that is. The reality is, as I've already said, our passports carry biometric data on them. We need to use our passports. We have national insurance numbers that carry tons of data next to our name that we have to hand over when we get new jobs or anything like that. Our driver's licenses are required in order to prove various things. If you are lucky enough to look under 25, you have to produce some form of identification if you want to buy alcohol in this country. So the reality is we're doing all this. And frankly, the arguments made by David Cameron are a pretty demeaning argument, to be perfectly honest. And I think if you look at what's happened to illegal immigration since 2010, you could argue that his failure to act is the reason we're in the situation we are now.
To be honest, I think most people are at their wits' end when it comes to illegal migration and all the associated problems that they probably more people than in the past would accept digital IDs, I think. Jonathan, I do want to ask you about some of your colleagues. A huge number of your colleagues seem so interested in lobbying for an airport in Pakistan. Particularly, I'm thinking of a Birmingham MP, Tahir Ali, who's been speaking about this in the House of Commons. He's getting very annoyed at any criticism against him as a result. And we are wondering on this channel, why is there a focus on an airport in Pakistan when Birmingham is literally a dump at the moment?
Well, look, I can only speak for the work I do as a Member of Parliament on behalf of the constituents of Hartlepool. I obviously didn't sign that letter, and I am much more focused on better transport links in my area, which frankly are appalling, including our bus network and issues with Northern Rail. Those are the focuses that I've got, and I'll continue to have those.
Would you have
forward.
a word with some of them, though, and just say, you know what, priorities here? It doesn't look great that you're lobbying for an airport in a foreign country rather than, you know, lobbying for better bin collections, for example.
Well, look, that's entirely up to them. And of course, their constituents, I'm sure, will make their voices heard if they're unhappy with them. But I think each MP has to focus on their own job, which is their own constituency. And as far as I'm concerned, that's Hartlepool and nothing else.
Now, on this campaign for digital IDs, you are one of a huge number of Labour MPs now calling for this. 3 distinct sort of groups within the party from varying different ideological backgrounds, I must say. Do you think the government's receptive?
I hope so. I mean, look, this is the job of backbench MPs, is to organise, is to show strength and unity and demand from the government that which we think is in the interests of our constituents. You're right, there is a diverse range of MPs all calling for this. And I think that's a very good thing and a strong sign to the government that we'd like to see action on this. So I do hope ministers are receptive.
OK. Jonathan, just very quickly, do you have any idea how much it would cost us all? Because, of course, that is a big concern with the state of things at the moment.
Well, actually, the reality of digital ID is that it would end up costing the taxpayer far less. It would save, I mean, there are estimates when it comes to fraud alone, it would save the taxpayer £1 billion. So I would hope it wouldn't necessarily cost the taxpayer anything.
OK, well, we'll have to wait and see what the Chancellor has to say in due course. But Jonathan Brash, MP for Hartlepool, thanks indeed for joining us on Good Afternoon Britain. Well, Jonathan Brash, the Member of Parliament for Hartlepool, puts forward a strong case. He says this would be something dragging the United Kingdom into the 21st century. But are you afraid of the potential implications of what it might mean for our liberty and, frankly, for our privacy too? Do get involved in the comments section below. My name has been Tom Harwood. You've been watching GBN Originals, and remember to subscribe to the channel for more original content.